Well, Jane, we're talking about missionaries, and you were a missionary with your husband with an unusual call here in Salt Lake. You live in Salt Lake, you got called to serve in Salt Lake, you moved 7 miles south to live in the mission home.
Companion to the mission president, but you're really a mom because you have so many calling. One time I was talking about how many times the phone would ring in a day, and Dick said, "Why don't you count how many times it rings?" I said, "Okay."
Well, we had a little box.
And we had, of course, a machine, and we were in and out during the day. And between the phone calls that I got personally and on the machine, it added up to 65 in one day. But I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I was scared to death to go out. I thought, I can't do this. I had known other mission presidents and their wives, and I had seen what they had done. We had visited a couple in our travels, and I just thought, oh, there's something I would never want to do. It would be too hard. I just can't imagine doing it. But I absolutely loved it. I loved getting to know them. I loved watching them grow in the gospel and grow in their self-esteem. And I still remember we had one elder that when he came, he literally could not look a person in the eye. He just couldn't. You'd say hello, and he'd put his eyes down and say hello. And I just watched as time went by. And at the end, he could look you in the eye. He could give a talk. It was just incredible to watch the growth of these sisters and elders who came. And it was just one of my greatest experiences of life.
Well, and you had elders and sisters from all over the world
that was
coming
the other
into
thing.
Salt Lake. What was that like?
Yes, and I, you know, I'd grown up in Salt Lake, so I thought, oh, I know Salt Lake. It was so different from what I thought. First of all, our missionaries never came from Utah, maybe only 1 or 2 from the whole Intermountain area. And so we had them from all over the world, 42 countries and 46 states that we had missionaries from, and many of them didn't speak English, and they'd have to learn English, and they were homesick, and it was hard for them. And some would come from just a state like, for instance, the Midwest somewhere, and they'd come and would say, "Were you excited about your mission call?" And they'd say, "Oh no, I've been to Salt Lake, I have a grandmother here, I have an aunt here, no." And in 6 months, they loved Salt Lake so much. And they said, "I'm so glad I was sent here. I can't believe serving a mission where we don't have Temple Square and we don't have the 12 apostles that we actually meet." I mean, they'd go to some of their houses for dinner. Salt Lake became so exciting. It became the prize mission. But originally, they hadn't felt that way when they got their calls, if they were in the States. Now, if they were overseas, then they were very excited about Salt Lake. But we had a great experience.
That's great. Anything you want to add?
Oh, she was great. We had a missionary come by last night, and her husband would show off their little baby.
Oh, don't you love
and
that?
And inevitably, when that happens, when they come to town, they'll look us up. Inevitably, I get a big kick out of this. They remember something she said in Zone Conference.
No.
One time, I said, "Do you remember anything I said?" And they kind of scratched their head.
No, that's not true.
She was great with them, and she was terrified. She was just scared. I think when we got our call, she came home and cried and said, "I don't think I can do this." And after about a year or two, she said, "Can we extend? Will you call your father?" And I said, "Are you kidding? I'm on my last legs." But she wanted another year. She wanted 4 years.
I did. He said, "I'm so tired."
Yeah.